Today I'm talking about Wing Chun and what it is to me. I'm Sifu Jesse, and that's what's coming up next from Dragon Arts Wing Chun. To me, Wing Chun is at its core a philosophy and a methodology. It really seeks to find the best approach to a given set of circumstances. And it does this by asking a single question. What is the most effective for a given set of circumstances? That could be action or it can be inaction depending on the case. From that one simple question, everything else will flow. From the techniques and their applications to the way the system is taught, and it even gives us the framework for the inclusion and adaptation of new techniques if necessary. So taking a look at that question and what it entails, we really need to do some unpacking. That is going to give rise to a whole host of other questions. One of the first questions that's going to come up is it the most efficient? Because if we have two techniques that are each equally effective once they reach their intended target, we can say that the one that gets there first will be the better technique. Also, the one that gets there with less effort will be necessarily the better technique. And when you combine all this criteria, the effective technique that gets there first with less effort will then be the best one. A good example of this would be if we have one technique that is going to effectively deal with multiple circumstances, as opposed to having to have a separate technique for each of those circumstances, then we can say that that one single thing is going to be superior. A good example of this is going to be keeping good posture, both standing up and while fighting on the ground. Keeping good posture will, amongst other things, allow you to generate more force. It makes you far less susceptible to their counter techniques. It helps you to defend a whole host of counter techniques while only have to concentrate on one thing at a time, and that's keeping your posture. For instance, standing up, when we're doing, say, Lap Sao or Pai Zhang or almost any of the normal two-handed Wing Chun techniques, we're breaking their posture in order to make them more effective. And keeping our posture allows us to break their posture easier. It diminishes their ability to retaliate. It allows you to generate more punching force. It allows you to more easily deflect techniques. It's generally going to make life easier. On the ground, if somebody wants to armbar or triangle you, one of the first things that you're taught to do in order to perform that technique is to break their posture. If you concentrate on keeping good posture, well, guess what? You're a lot less likely to be armbarred or triangled, and instead of having to worry about your armbar defense and your triangle defense and your omoplata defense, you only have to worry about keeping good posture. Also, if you keep good posture in someone's guard, you're going to be able to effectively deliver strikes, as opposed to when you lose your posture and you try to hit them, you're really going to have a hard time. And there's a much higher chance that they're going to put you in a submission. Keeping good posture is going to make it way easier for you to pass their guard. So now, instead of learning 1,001 techniques to defend an armbar and 1,001 techniques to defend a triangle, 1,001 techniques to defend a Lap Sao or Pai Zhang or any of these other techniques, we only have this one thing that we need to concentrate on. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have to have some defenses for those. You do, but by focusing on your posture, you're far less likely to have to use those defenses to begin with. And since it's so effective and it works cross-platforms, that makes that one of the most effective techniques and strategies that you can use. So from that one question, we can also find the most effective way to find the most effective way, right? And that is going to be to use something like the scientific method in order to find what the best techniques are. Now, there's going to be a lot of analogies between the way Wing Chun's taught and science. For instance, in science, you have the scientific method, and then you have the quote-unquote science that flows from the method. Just like if you were to learn physics, you're going to learn all these different equations and whatnot, but you can go and use the scientific method in order to verify all the things that you learn. Just like when you go into your science classes to begin with, you have to trust the system and you have to trust what you're being taught until you can go out and verify it. You have to actually learn it and learn it well in order to verify whether or not it works. My recommendation is plumb the depths of your system before looking elsewhere. Because the system itself, its techniques, the way it's taught, the forms, these are tomes of knowledge that have been accumulated and refined over centuries. And the likelihood that you or me in our short little lifetimes are going to know better than the accumulated knowledge of these people that have gone before us, that have used this methodology, is really pretty small. Having said that, you have to go through and you have to find out for yourself. Make sure if it's not working, are you doing it correctly? Are you doing it the way that the system prescribes? Over the past couple of years, I decided to be extremely dogmatic about the Wing Chun system. And as far as stand-up goes, if I'm doing a technique in a way that I can't find justification for in the system, then I stop doing it. And I go back and try and find the answer within the system in order to perform that technique well. And so far, it hasn't steered me wrong. My Kung Fu's continued to get better because of that approach. So all these theories and techniques like the center line, Chun Chi, staying deep in your horse, all these are concepts that have, at least to me, proven themselves that we can trust them, because I've done my best to put them through the ringer. I've tried it my own way, and frankly, my way is not as good. When I actually use the techniques that are found in the system, my percentage rate goes way up. Trust in the work of the masters that have come before you. The information's there. If you let it, it will steer you in the right direction. Now, we can use this methodology to adapt it to modern day. Mostly that's going to deal with weapons, and nowadays we've got a lot of people that want to fight on the ground, which wasn't really the case back in the 1800s in China. So we can use this methodology to adapt, and we can find what's best. But we have to do that reluctantly. So Wing Chun to me is first a philosophy, and then it's a system of training. So those are just some of my opinions on the subject. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think I left something out that's important? Leave a note down in the comments and let us know. We can discuss it. As always, I want to get closer to what's best. We can all improve. And if you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or if you're watching it on Facebook, like our page, and so on and so forth. Thanks again. I'm Sifu Jesse. Never stop learning.